Jorgensen was the godfather and namesake of this man who disguised himself as a butterfly collector while serving as an intelligence officer in Dalmatia. This man invented a man-carrying kite and deployed an unmanned version of it to conduct photographic reconnaissance at Modder River. This man's troops pretended to bury landmines to receive Boer forces at Mafeking. For 10 points, name this...
Ben Powell.
Yes. Thank you, bonus. This author received the nickname the 20,000 poet after he supposedly wrote 23,500 verses in a single 24-hour period. For 10 points each, name this 17th century author who wrote about a grudge provoked by a sedge hat in his story collection, The Great Mirror of Male Love. Answer.
No answer.
That is Saikaku. Saikaku's The Life of an Amorous Woman is set in this Japanese city, which was the capital at the time he wrote. Yasunari Kawabata's Beauty and Sadness is also set in this city.
Okay. Kyoto.
Yes, Harasakaku developed a genre of novels set in this cultural setting. Masuji Ono is discredited for producing propaganda in a novel about an artist of this setting.
Floating World. Floating World.
20. Problem number 2. One of these two characters tells the other that even Niobe remembered to eat and claims that Zeus's hall has 2 jars of blessings and curses. Hermes takes the guise of Polyctor's son to guide one of these 2 men who tells the other to remember your own father. These 2 men arrange a 12-day truce after the return of a body that had been dragged... -5. Body that had been dragged behind a chariot. For 10 points, name these 2 Homeric characters, a Greek hero and the Trojan king whose son he killed. For 10.
Yeah.
Your bonus. This award was first given to Leon Cryer in 2003. For 10 points each, name this annual award given by Notre Dame for contemporary classical architecture, often contrasted with the more modernist-leaning Pritzker Prize. That's the Driehaus Architecture Prize. Winners of the Driehaus Prize receive a miniature of the Koragic Monument of Lysicrates, which featured the first exterior use of this more ornate of the 3 classical orders. Yes, the 2007 prize went to Jacqueline Robertson for designing the master plan of this Disney-developed community in Florida.
It's Celebration, right? Is that what it's called? Celebration.
20. Good. Toss-up number 3. The French exile Rodriguez Mingas controls the military position in this province. The northeastern part of this province was formerly covered in rainforest and is known as the Mayombe Hills. The Castaña, cocoa, and Masambala oil discoveries are processed at the Molongo plant in this province, whose independence is fought for by the FLEC and UNLC. This province is on the Atlantic coast between the Republic of Congo and the DR. Yes, 10.
Nice.
Your bonus. This king asserted control over the papacy by appointing his countryman Bruno as the first German pope, Gregory V. For 10 points each, name is Holy Roman Emperor, who supported Christianization efforts like those of Adalbert of Prague. He allied with Boleslav I of Poland at the Congress of Gniezno to fight the pagan Lutici.
Okay, so we're in Otto. Maybe it's Conrad II.
It's Otto III. Otto's other Christianization efforts helped convert this first Christian king of Hungary, who was born with the name Vike.
Stephen.
Yes. After making Rome his capital, Otto crushed the Crescenti family in a siege of this building. To increase security, Pope Nicholas II built the Passetto de Borgo to connect this building to the Vatican.
Castel Sant'Angelo.
20. Puzzle number 4. A Syriac word for this woman's descendants, Magraye, is discussed in a book about her ism by Patricia Crone and Michael Cook. This woman is emulated in a ritual called Sa'i. According to Islam, she was given a bucket of dates by her husband, who worked with her son to build the Kaaba. While thirsty, this woman ran 7 times between As-Safa and Al-Marwa, 2 hills, before an angel created the well of Zamzam. Arabs traditionally claim descent from, for 10 points, what mother of Ishmael?
Hagar?
Yes, 10. Your bonus. This author transposed Miss Julie to an English country house on the night of the 1945 Labour Party victory in his play After Miss Julie. For 10 points each, name is contemporary British playwright and theatre director whose works include The Red Lion and Dealer's Choice.
No answer.
That is Patrick Marber. Marber recently wrote an adaptation of this 19th century Russian play in which Natalia Petrovna and her ward Vera both fall in love with the same man. Answer?
Say it.
A Month in the Country.
Yes.
Good.
A Month in the Country is a play by this creator of the nihilist Bazarov. He also wrote a sportsman sketches.
Stroganoff.
20. Toss-up number 5. These cells name a family of 22 proteins whose receptors complex with the Clotho family. When they possess actin, they resemble smooth muscle and have the prefix myo. KLF4, CMYC, OCT34, and
IPS.
-5.
Stem cells.
-5. OCT34 and SOX2 were used by Shinya Yamanaka to reprogram these cells into induced pluripotent stem cells. These cells synthesize glycosaminoglycans and are stimulated to divide by tissue damage. For 10 points, what primary cells of the connective tissue synthesize collagen and cause fibrosis in
Fibroblasts.
10. bonus. Margaret Farrar was this puzzle's first editor. For 10 points each, in this puzzle, whose Sunday version consists of a 21 by 21 grid, while its daily variant is only 15 by 15.
Crosswords.
Yeah. The New York Times crossword has been edited since 1993 by this man who has a college degree. Yes, this Democratic politician's surname was one of two possible answers to 39 across in the classic New York Times crossword by Jeremiah Farrell. This crossword enthusiast appears in the documentary Wordplay.
Yes.
Yep, for toss-up. A leader of this political faction wrote the Holzmann letter addressing the international rights of American ships during the Koste affair with Austria-Hungary. This faction's name may derive from a word meaning home base in Dutch. This faction's leaders included Daniel S. Dickinson and William L. Marcy.
The Hungers.
10. Endothelin receptor antagonists like bosentan can be used to treat hypertension in this structure. For 10 points each, name this artery, which has an unusually low blood pressure of 8 to 20 millimeters mercury. It directs deoxygenated blood to the lungs.
Pulmonary? Pulmonary.
Yes. Increased pulmonary artery pressure can be indicative of a left to right example of these pathways of blood flow that deviate from normal circulation.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Stent.
It's a shunt.
Yeah.
In the fetal heart, this shunt connects the main pulmonary artery to the proximal descending aorta, allowing blood to bypass the non-functioning lungs. Ductus arteriosus, 10 of the bonus there. Toss-up. The father of this novel's title character was a town mayor under the consulate before being replaced by a large landowner. Its title character is confined to her room on a diet of bread and water after her father, who economizes everything, even movement, finds that she has given her collection of gold coins to her bankrupt cousin and love interest, 10. Your bonus. For WC chance of the following about crime in 1970s New York. This set of harsh narcotic laws was passed in 1973. It prescribed penalties such as 25 years in prison for possession of 4 ounces of cocaine.
Rockefeller drug laws.
Yes. Nelson Rockefeller said that's life in reference to the 39 deaths during the storming of this state prison where inmates took guards as hostages and said, over $5 million in cash and jewels were stolen by Lucchese mafia associates in this 1978 incident at JFK Airport masterminded by Jimmy Burke.
What's the one that starts with L? Lufthansa? Yeah. Lufthansa?
It's 30.
Time out.
Yep.
I might switch.
Eric agrees with the scores.
We all agree on the score? Yeah?
Yeah.
So, 15, 155? Yeah? Okay. We're going to teach on number 8. We're roughly in sync.
We are now.
Okay, great. Okay, so what team's ready? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
It's one time out per game, not per time.
It is per game, so you guys have used your time, you guys can still have your time.
When you're protesting, get the Wait, did they vote?
No, that's. I was making a
Alright, we're going to toss on number 8. Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Toss on number 8. This event is said to have taken place in the Ahalia Bumi, an unplowed field in Vasokund. The 5th afternoon of Paryushana features a recounting of this event, accompanied by 14 boli, or auctions, that correspond to auspicious dreams, including visions of a full moon and of a 4-tusked white elephant. The antelope.
The birth of the Buddha?
The antelope-headed god Harinaigameshin transferred a fetus from Devananda to Queen Trishala prior to, for 10 points, what event at the start of the life of the last Tirthankara of Jainism? Yes. And your bonus. In the wake of the 2008 financial crisis, this academic published 13 video lectures on reading Karl Marx's Capital. His name is advocate of the right to the city movement and characterized neoliberalism. Yes. This French sociologist introduced the notion of the right to the city and argued that the modern quotidian experience is valueless in his 3-volume critique of everyday life.
Yep.
Yes. Lefebvre's critique savages modern society's obsession over this activity. Torsten Veblen identified a conspicuous form of
Consumption.
30. Puzzle number 9. A mechanic was arrested in one of these 2 countries for using women's underwear soaked in invisible ink to pass secrets to the other. Military intelligence from one of these countries instructed citizens of the other to plant bombs in cinemas and libraries in Operation Susanna. One of these countries launched a massive airstrike in 1967 after
Israel and Egypt.
10. 2 bonus. Leonard Van Post developed the first technique to use this substance to date layers of sediment. For 10 points each, name is substance produced by plants. Palynologists use this substance and spores as index fossils.
Pollen.
Yes. 3 periods of time within the Quaternary are named after this plant because high levels of its pollen have been found in corresponding strata.
Dryas.
Yes. The older and younger Dryas are two of these periods of time in the Quaternary, which correspond to a cooler climate than their counterparts.
Stadial.
Yeah, 30. And your next toss-up. A Lorenzo Lotto painting of this woman includes a cartouche showing her dialogue. This woman has several white and silver objects at her feet, including a comb and a silk shawl, in a painting in which she sits in front of a rose trellis by Tintoretto. This woman sits on a ledge while two men behind her whisper to each other in a painting by Artemisia Gentileschi. For 10 points, name. And your bonus. The 1913 Zabern affair was a diplomatic crisis in this border region that arose due to this region's occupation by German troops. For 10 points each, name this region with a hyphenated name which reverted to France in 1918. It was subsumed into the region of Grand Est by the French government in 2016.
Alsace-Lorraine.
Yes, this 751-member organization holds some of its meetings in Strasbourg, the most populous city of historical Alsace-Lorraine.
European Parliament.
Yes, this pacifist poet of Dreamweed and a requiem for the fallen soldiers of Europe was from Alsace-Lorraine. He wrote in French and German.
Dan.
It's Yvonne Gold, so 20 on the bonus there. Awesome. Number 11. A retired Army officer with this surname who noted that rates of non-firers throughout history plummeted in Vietnam in his 1995 book On Killing teaches killology seminars to police departments. A woman with this surname produced a 2003 English translation of Don Quixote. A 2009... 15. And your bonus. William Empson wrote a book about some versions of this literary genre, which Empson argued was about the people but not by or for them. Yes. Edmund Spencer dedicated his poem The Shepherd's Calendar to this man. Strephon and Cleis narrate this author's pastoral double sestina, Ye Goat-Herd Gods, part of a long prose work.
Sydney.
Yes, Calidor becomes a shepherd and falls in love with Pastorella in this book of the Fairy Queen, which is followed by 2 cantos of mutability. 30. Toss-up. One of these entities issues a command. One of these entities issues a command to fix every wandering thought upon that quarter where all thought is done, and delivers a summons to the winding ancient stair in a poem by William Butler Yeats. Andrew Marvell has one of these entities lament being constrained not only to endure diseases, but what's worse, the
Body and
15.
dialogue.
Yes, yeah, that's what it is. Here's your bonus. This album set a Billboard 200 record by dropping from number 1 in its first week on the chart to number 97 in its second week for 10 points each. In this 2017 album, which received acclaim reminiscent of its band's 2000s era albums Deja Entendu and The Devil and God Are Raging Inside Me.
I don't know what that is.
It's science fiction. Science fiction is the 5th album by this emo band led by Jesse Lacey, whose songs include the quiet things that no one ever knows.
Wait. This is it's
Answer? Brand new. Science fiction knocked this artist's album Rainbow, which featured the songs Woman and Praying off the top of the Billboard chart. She also recorded TikTok.
You gotta do it. Can't move my hands. I would've gotten Achilles and Prion.
Yeah, I was first two. It's a much better feeling. Honestly, like the worst is you can feel like you're really
They can still win.
Yeah.
I believe in
The
them.
thing is, though, I find it weird how people, like, Yale was going on Austria, we didn't get one more tosses, right? Because they're on Austria.
Yeah, it's weird.
But the thing is, if you know the things you know has come up already, shouldn't, by definition, there be less of the things you know than the rest of the packet?
No. They're good, and they know enough things that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Guys, we can do it. Ah!
Love the make picking through the 5 minutes.
Alright.
Can't move my.
We're going to go ahead and start the second half. We're going to toss up 13. During a campaign to force these exhibitions to charge paid admission in 1959, Robert Moses circulated an anonymous letter that accused their organizer of being a communist. The permanent site of these exhibitions overlooks Turtle Pond and Belvedere Castle. In 1987, Martin Sheen and Al Pacino appeared in one of these exhibitions, which take place at the Delacorte Theater. Joseph Papp arranged the first of, for
Is this Shakespeare in the Park?
10. Your bonus. This subfield of optics analyzes cases in which the incident light's electric field is comparable to the Coulomb field in a sample. For 10 points each, name this field, which often modeled the polarization as a cubic polynomial in the electric field.
Nonlinear.
Yeah. One nonlinear effect is the generation of the second of these modes. In general, the nth of these modes has n times the frequency of the first one, which is known as the fundamental frequency.
Yes.
Yeah. This nonlinear process leaves molecules in an excited state and has a transition rate proportional to the square of the light intensity. Answer?
Intensity interferometry.
It's 2 photon absorption, so 20 on the bonus side. Concept number 14. Alonzo Church and Stephen Claney name one of these values that is non-recursive and is defined as the supremum of all the ones that are recursive. In some theories, trying to construct the set of these numbers leads to the Burali-Forti paradox. The smallest
Ordinals?
15. Yeah, 15. Your bonus for 10 points each. Name these African politicians whose careers intersected with plane crashes. 12 years after Mozambican President Samora Machel died in a plane crash, this man married his wife Graça. He was released from Robben Island in 1990. Yes. This Rwandan president was killed in a plane crash in 1994, fueling the tensions that led to that year's genocide. Yep. This dictator of Togo served from 1967 until his death aboard a plane in 2005. This man, who survived an earlier plane crash in 1974, kept a troop of 1,000 dancing women for formal events as part of his cult of personality.
The only thing I just like Sekou soup, but Sekou soup.
No, it's Ea Dema.
Okay.
So 20 on the there. Concept number 15. One of this author's characters hangs himself in a smokehouse after being driven insane by a piece of ham he is forced to wear around his neck. Another of his characters is sliced in pieces at a sawmill after his wife Tenny turns him into a tree. This author of Dave's Necklace and Poe Sandy wrote about a slave whose vitality is linked with the health of a vineyard in a story narrated by Uncle Julius. For 10 points, name this author whose The Clifford Grapevine appears in the 10. Your bonus. This composer omitted violins from his 2005 work Sculpture, which was inspired by the architecture of Walt Disney Concert Hall. The each name is composer who used traditional wings and strings, non-traditional percussion, and electronics in his 1985 work Craft. Yeah. Lindbergh's other works included concerto for this ensemble, which he declared his favorite instrument. Bela Bartok's concerto for this ensemble includes a game of pairs movement. Yeah. Both Sculpture and Craft were premiered under the baton of this Finnish conductor and composer who was music director of the LA Phil from 1992 to 2000. Yeah, so 30 on the bonus there. Toss-up. Most Shia disregard a hadith saying that 10 members of this group, including Talha and Sayyid bin Zaid, were granted entry into Jannah while on Earth. The Tabi'un are a generation after this group, whose members include the Mukaththirun, or reporters of many traditions, who related hundreds of hadiths. This group... Yep, first nice. William Gowland identified the mountains dividing Honshu as the Japanese version of this mountain range. For 10 points each, same as European mountain range. A southern version of this range is found in New Zealand. Alps. Yep, the Japanese Alps are divided into 3 ranges. Haida, Akaishi, and a mountain range of this name. This is also the name of a central mountain route with 69 rest stations known as the Nakasendo.
It's Tokaido.
It's Kiso. The Japanese Alps dominate this landlocked prefecture that hosted the 1998 Winter Olympics.
That was in Sapporo, so.
Answer? It's Nagano. In a video taken in this state, a person asks an older man to say the name Joy Lane. This state's largest
Carolina.
Sorry, -5.
Sorry.
This state's largest police investigation focused on the Rodin family after 8 family members were shot execution style in 2016. In this state, Robert Godwin was killed by Steve Stevens, who posted a video of the shooting on his Facebook account. The May 2016 shooting in this state was meant to save a boy at a zoo. For 10 points, in a state where Harambe the gorilla was killed.
Ohio.
A D.M. Armstrong book offers a combinatorial theory of this concept. For 10 points each, name is property contrasted with necessity. Gottfried Leibniz believed that God surveyed all worlds with this property before creating, contrasted, what was your?
I said contingency.
Okay, it's possible.
Yeah, okay, that's
necessity and possibility are operators in this form of logic, which quantifies across possible worlds. Solve Kripke divided semantics for this. Yeah, this female logician, a contemporary of Harry Frankfurt at Yale, related quantifiers to modal operators in her namesake formula.
Oh man. I fucked up.
Answer? Okay, that's Ruth Barkin Marcus. So 10 the bonus.
Oh.
Toss-up. Interfering species in ICP-MS can be removed by discriminating based on this quantity. Particles are sorted based on their value of this quantity in a hemispherical analyzer. Ions with equal values of this quantity are passed through a drift tube in time of flight mass spectrometry. For a Maxwell-Boltzmann gas, the average value of this quantity equals 3/2 kT, matching the result of the equipartition theorem.
Kinetic energy.
10. Yeah. In a 2013 game, this NBA player was filmed trying to cheer up his teammate Alexei Shved by telling him to change this face. For 10 points each, name this guard who was traded in 2017 to the Utah Jazz. Answer? That is Ricky Rubio. Rubio was traded to the Jazz by this president and coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, who claimed to be putting the team first by doing so. It's Tom Thibodeau. Rubio was taken by the Timberwolves with the 5th pick in the 2009 NBA draft. 2 picks later, this other point guard and future 2-time MVP was taken by the Warriors.
Curry.
Yeah. Awesome. In this film, a judge relates how the people of Athens once opened their gates to a tyrant they had previously banished. This film's characters include Harvey Pell, who gives up his deputy's badge after being passed over for a promotion. Toward the end of this film, Amy Fowler, who was played by Grace Kelly, shoots a man in his back despite the pacifism over Quaker religion. For 10 points, famous Western in which outlaw Frank Miller is faced by Gary Cooper's Will Kane at the title time. It is here. Yes, your bonus. Dihalocyclopropanes are converted to these compounds through reaction with organolithium bases in the Scattergold rearrangement. For 10 points each, name the dienes containing adjacent double bonds. One of these compounds exists in equilibrium with propine in MAP gas. It's an alene. Both MAP gas and this simplest alkyne can serve as welding fuels.
Yeah.
No, it's acetylene.
Acetylene.
Adjacent double bonds are also found in these functional groups discovered by Hermann Staudinger, who reacted them with imines to make the first synthetic beta-lactams. Yes, for 10. All right, so concept number 20. A legal scholar of this surname gave an affirmative approach to define the phrase high crimes and misdemeanors for lay people in Impeachment, a handbook. A justice of this surname, who often cited the English leveler John Lilburn, argued in a dissent to Adamson v. California that the 14th Amendment incorporated the whole Bill of Rights at the state level. The most prominent American law dictionary bears, for 10 points, what surname of a long-serving Supreme Court justice from Alabama? It's here? Yes. And your bonus. This group's second incarnation was founded in 1915 at Stone Mountain. For 10 points each, a secret society, the Klan's 1920s resurgence was curtailed by a 1925 scandal in which this Grand Dragon from Indiana was convicted. Despite during the resurgence, Virgil Effinger founded this paramilitary group of vigilantes to protect Klan officers. Its members, which included many Detroit police officers, numbered over 135,000 during the Depression.
Red shirt. Yeah, no, that's not
the Black Legion, so 20 on the bonus. Toss-up number 21. In one passage, this critic imagined the sank-spotted shadow thrown by a water insect on a brook. This man proposed a secular clerisy tasked with preserving literary tradition. He named his son for, but later rejected the views of, the associationist David Hartley. He discussed his obligations to Schelling in a work that distinguishes primary and secondary imagination. The phrase willing suspension of disbelief was coined in Biographia Literae by Coleridge. This country plans to nearly triple its nuclear power capacity by swapping over to a new plant by 2026 for 10 points each in this country, which currently receives about 40% of its electricity from the Metzamor nuclear power plant. It's Armenia. Armenia is a strategic partner with this neighboring country whose own attempts to obtain nuclear power led to a nuclear deal with the U.S.
Iran.
Yes. Iran's Bushehr nuclear plant was built by companies from Russia and this country, which in 2011 announced the plan to close its own 17 nuclear power plants by 2022.
Germany.
Yes, 20. Toss-up number 22. When the incident beams have this property, measurements of the Hong-U-Mandel effect will be perfectly correlated. A system of particles with this property has quantum states defined in a Fock space and a wave function that is symmetric or antisymmetric under exchange according to the spin statistics theorem. A 1 over n factorial term multiplies the partition function of a collection of n particles that possess
identical.
Yes, that's number 10. This model ignores gas exchange between the intergalactic medium and the interstellar medium. For 10 points each in this model of a galaxy's chemical evolution over multiple generations of stars. It is often contrasted with a leaky counterpart. It's the closed box model. The closed box model shows a monotonic increase in this quantity. It is the mass fraction of a star or gas in elements other than hydrogen and helium. Yes, the closed box model allows stellar material to enrich the ISM through stellar winds and these events, which can form neutron stars and black holes. 20. Toss-up. In 2017, a leader of this party blamed his then-girlfriend for citing Holocaust denier David Irving in an undergraduate paper in 1999. In 2017, this party unveiled a logo consisting of a lion and the phrase...
UKIP.
Yeah, 15. And your bonus. This state backed the peasant revolt of Ivailo the Cabbage against Michael VIII Paleologus for 10 points each, named Mongol Khanate that ruled Russia in the medieval era.
Who was the Golden Horde?
Yes, in the late 14th century, this Khan briefly reunited the blue and white factions of the Golden Horde before he was deposed by Tamerlane. Yes, in the late 15th century, the power of the Golden Horde largely disintegrated following the Great Stand on the Ugra River, where the Horde refused to engage this Grand Prince of Moscow.
Ivan
From?
Moneybags?
No, it's Ivan the Great or Ivan the Third. So toss-up. A man with this position asks Seth Wright to work for him after going into a bathroom to vomit. Another man with this position murders Verna Thornton in the hospital after learning about the Defiance conspiracy. On one TV series, this position is held by Mellie, the ex-wife of a man who also held it and who had an affair with Olivia Pope. 4.
Just like President of the United States.
10. Your bonus. Okay.
Oh,
A
still.
contemporary review of this 1849 novel opined that its author will never have the power of a Kringle or the sustained humor and vivacity of a Marryat. For 10 points each, identify this work about the adventures of a man whose first name is Wellingborough. It ends with the narrator hearing about the death of his friend Carrie Bolton while whaling.
Ooh, that sounds like Pierre.
It's Redburn. 2 years after publishing Redburn, this author published Moby Dick.
What novel?
Yeah. In chapter 27 of Redburn, the title character at last arrives in this British city. In 1856, Melville visited this city where Nathaniel Hawthorne served as an American consul.
That's exciting.
Well, consul probably. Oh, so maybe it would be like Lancaster.
That's
Answer?
Where they send the cotton?
Liverpool? Okay, yes. For